Let's say you've watched a lot of dance battle events and you've seen the rare 3-way battle. You know, it's like a normal 1v1 battle, but now there's 3 people involved and only one of them gets to move further in the bracket. This type of battle is not very common, so you've asked yourself, what would a 1v1v1 tournament look like? So first off, what's so different about 3-way battles? Well, there's a lot more strategy involved. In a traditional 1v1 battle, the first dancer sets the bar while the second dancer has to respond. In a 3-way battle, the first dancer is still setting the bar, but now the second dancer has a choice to either respond to the first dancer or set a new bar. And then the third dancer has a choice on which of the 2 dancers they respond to. Dancers also get more rest time between sets. In a 1v1 battle, you get 30 to 45 seconds of rest between your turns. But in a 1v1v1, you get a minute to 90 seconds of rest time between turns. This means that stamina is less of a factor for the dancers, so you can throw down your best sets without worrying about gassing out. The layout of the dance battles will look different. 2 of the dancers will be placed on the corners of the dance floor closest to the judges, and the third dancer will be placed on the opposite side of the dance floor across from the judges. Judges would still raise their arms to vote for the dancers on the left and right, and now would raise both arms straight up in order to vote for the dancer in the middle. Regarding room layout, it's preferred to have your judges on the audience side of the room, but there's nothing really against having your judges being on the stage side of the room. As far as AV goes, video cameras should be located on the back corners of the dance floor furthest away from the judges. This way, there's at least 2 video shots of all 3 dancers and the judges in the same frame. Most of your photographers should be next to the judges table, with at least 1 or 2 of them on the opposite side of the dance floor. The bracket for a 1v1v1 tournament will look a little different since you have 3 people going into each battle instead of 2. 2 rounds will require 9 competitors, 3 rounds will require 27 competitors, and 4 rounds will require 81. 81 is a bit much and not doable for a single event, so let's focus on a 3-round tournament. Seeding the bracket would be similar to a 1v1, so let's say the top 3 seeds make it to finals, which means that semifinals would look like this, where the 1 is against the 8 and 9, the 2 is against the 6 and 7, and the 3 is against the 4 and 5. Following this logic, a 3-round seeded tournament should look like this. Prelims would be the same if it's a freestyle showcase or battle showcase format. If we're talking about my prelim system, some things would need to be changed with the spreadsheet in order to make it work. But in theory, using the Massey method on a chain of battles would still apply. Pretty much all the info from my clock management video still applies. If you watch that video, I showed an equation that can be used to estimate an event's duration. For 3 rounds of 1v1v1, there's 13 guaranteed battles, which is comparable to the 15 guaranteed battles in a 4-round 1v1 tournament. Using 3 dancers, 3 songs, 30 seconds of dance time per dancer, and 2 minutes of turnover time between battles means that the event should take an hour and 25 minutes. And if the dancers get 45 seconds of dance time for each song, then the estimated duration is an hour and 54 minutes. That's all assuming that no tiebreakers occur. So rule of thumb, the first round of a 3-way tournament should take about 2/3 the total time that the event takes. Speaking about tiebreakers, there's 2 types of ties with 1v1v1 battles, 2-way ties and 3-way ties. A 3-way tie occurs when all 3 dancers get the same amount of votes. A 2-way tie has 2 of the dancers getting the same amount of votes, while also being more votes than the third dancer. 2-way ties are okay because the tiebreaker would be between the 2 dancers involved. But we want to avoid 3-way ties because it doesn't progress the battle. If you remember my plurality tie votes video, I used the multinomial theorem to count up the number of possible tie configurations, except instead of left-right tie votes, judges now have left-middle-right votes. With this voting scheme, 3-way ties are only possible when the number of judges is a multiple of 3. 2-way ties are a little bit different since the condition is a little bit more complicated. 2 of the votes need to be equal while also being greater than the third one. Putting these equations to Excel, we get this plot. Funny enough, this is similar to what we got with the plurality ties votes video, except now the spikes have shifted over by 1. We also see that 4 and 7 judges are the best for 3-way battles. They don't allow for 3-way ties and minimize the chances for 2-way ties. Okay, now let's see what happens when the judges are allowed to have tie votes. Our starting equation looks like this. The tie conditions still remain the same. 3-way ties are now possible for any number of judges, not just multiples of 3. And the equation for 2-way ties now looks like this. Again, using Excel to get the results, we get this plot. Not only are 3-way ties possible for any number of judges, the amount of 2-way ties also increases compared to the other voting system. It's probably not a good idea to allow ties in 3-way battles because it opens up the possibility of double tiebreakers occurring. 7 judges using left, middle, right voting would be the most optimal for a 1v1v1 tournament. You can expect at most 2 or 3 tiebreaker battles occurring in a 3-round bracket, which adds about 6 to 10 minutes time to the event. 4 judges is okay to have, but you need to have a 5th judge on standby just in case there needs to be a tiebreaker. 5 judges can work, but expect at most 4 or 5 tiebreakers occurring. Just like with a traditional single elimination tournament, there needs to be an intermission between semifinals and the final battle to give your finalists time to rest and recover. However, there's probably no need to have an intermission between the first and second rounds. Yeah, the winner at the bottom of the bracket only gets 2 battles of rest time, but the battles are longer, which gives them 4 to 6 minutes of rest time between rounds. The interesting thing about a 1v1v1 battle tournament is that the first, second, and third place winners are all in the same final battle. There's a couple of strategies you can do with awarding second and third place. You could have it based purely on judges' votes with the same left, middle, right system. The dancer with the most votes will receive first place, the dancer with the second highest number of votes would receive second place, and the dancer with the lowest number of votes would receive third place. However, there's a high chance of a two-way tiebreaker needing to happen, either for first place or second place, which may affect the pacing of your battle. The other option is to have your judges using the ranking system for the final battle and make a grand reveal what the placements are. Pacing would not be affected as much, and there are less chances for a tie to occur. But there is a tiny chance for a three-way tie to occur. And I think that's all there needs to be said about a three-way battle tournament. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the So funny story, most of the script was done back in the spring when I started making info videos about dance events. However, Megaplex ended up running a three-way battle tournament this year, and I was one of the judges for it. One day the event coordinator just asked the judges if there's any formats that we should run, and I half-jokingly said three-way battle tournament. And they just ran with it. Props to the event team for giving this uncommon format a try. There's a lot of challenges when it comes to shaking things up so drastically. If I was to run my own 1v1v1 tournament, I can think of 2 changes I would make. Give dancers 45 seconds per turn, and start hosting workshops about battle strategy. The first one gives dancers enough time to set up and respond to both opponents, and the second one prepares them for more three-way battles. All my other critiques about Megaplex applies to dance events in general, and is not specific to three-way battles. Ultimately, I heard that dancers like that they got more time to dance, even if they got knocked out in the first round. There's definitely potential in seeing this format be run again in the future. Speaking of which, if anyone wants to run another three-way battle tournament and use my prelim system, I decided to make a version that's based on three-way battles. Link in the description. Check out all the cool maths. And that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh my god, beans. Let's get some beans. Let's get some beans. Let's get some beans. Let's get some beans.